over to you
Thank you.
to introduce Mr. S. Sandilya for the talk. Thank
Thank
you, sir.
you. Thank you, Devraj. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure and privilege for me to welcome Mr. Sandilya. The secret is that Sandilya and I go back a long, long way. 56 years we know each other, and therefore I take particular pleasure in introducing him. As you know, he is the chairman. There are some Air Force planes violating my airspace. Okay. So, yeah, so he's the chairman, non-executive chairman of the Aisha Group, and he's been that since 2006. And he became non-executive chairman in 2006. Before that, he was group chairman and CEO from 2000 and 2006 for the Aisha Group. As we know, the Aisha Group is very diversified. It's into tractors, commercial vehicles, motorcycles, engineering components, and even garments, leather products, and business consulting services. So this vast group has been under the leadership of Sandilya for a very, very long time. Prior to his becoming the chairman and CEO, he joined Aisha in 1975 and has been part of the Aisha growth story. And he became managing director of Aisha Motors Limited, which is the commercial vehicle manufacturing business unit, until 1998, when he became, in addition to being that CEO, group finance and in the group office responsible for group finance and strategic planning. So he has a very long association with the Aisha Group. But what we perhaps don't know about Sandilya, IAF wants to know
Yeah,
about
I
you. That's
know.
why
I can see that they're really flying off. Yeah.
Yeah, they are saluting.
Yeah, saluting you. That's fantastic. It's a good omen. So Sandilya was president of the SOS Children's Villages of India. I don't know how many of you know about SOS Children's Villages of India. It's a very remarkable body which takes care of really, really destitute and orphaned children. And they have a unique model by which they all get foster mothers and they live with the mothers who look after them until they grow up and so on. And for the rest of their life, they remain their mothers. And it's a very remarkable. And SOS itself is an Austria-based organization of a long time, now present in 134 countries. But the India operation is the largest in the world. And Sandilya was the president of it for 12 years. Sandilya has also held many other positions. He's been on the board of the Lean Global Network in the USA. He was past president of the International Motorcycle Manufacturers Association in Geneva. He's the past president of the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, SIAM. He has been on the National Council of CII for many, many years, and he's currently the chairman of the Lean Management Institute India. So very illustrious career after he passed out of IIM Ahmedabad in 1969. Now, if you see the title of Sandilya's talk today, it's anecdotal experiences. Now, it says a lot about him. Sandilya prefers to be a practical person. He is a very, very practical person. He is not interested in being a scholarly person. So what we're going to hear from him is not just a bunch of anecdotes. I assure you, what we are going to get is our deep insights based on his anecdotal experiences. And he's too modest to say that he's going to convey to us those deep insights, but please expect it. I'm really, really happy that he accepted my request to speak here. Thank you very much, Sandilya. I look forward to your talk.
Thank you, Ramanathan, for this detailed introduction. I told Prabhakar that, listen, don't have to introduce all the things. You just say that I'm a two-legged animal. I'm chairman of vice, so that's enough. I don't think deserve all that you said. However, I'm delighted to be here today to speak to all of you on some experiences that I've had. And I'm here because of Ramanathan. He insisted that I give a talk, and I said, "Listen, I'm not, qualified to give a speech on the subject." But he said, "No, you come and said." Prabhakar asked me, "Can you tell me synopsis?" And I said, "Listen, I will speak extempore, and I will share some anecdotal experiences. Therefore, there is no presentation. There is no conceptual framework, and most of what I will share will be common sense, except for some unique experiences that I've had at a personal level. But I must start with a caveat. As I mentioned, I'm not an expert on quality, and to speak in the presence of quality gurus like Ramanathan and Janak Mehta is actually a blasphemy. But somehow Ramanathan insists that I talk, and he already warned you that you're not going to get any, concepts and jargons. It will be only some experiences. Now, I think coming to the specific aspect of quality, and I think there are many definitions. And one thing I want to warn you all that I have a tendency to speak fast. I mean, sometimes faster than Ramanathan because we are kind of trained to do that. But if any of you feel that I am going a little overboard or overhead because of my speed of delivery, please stop me. And then I can kind of correct myself. I've been attempting to change this for so many years, but I've failed in that aspect of quality at a personal level to ensure that the audience gets what they have to receive, not necessarily go overboard. Coming back to the normal definition, we normally say that it is meeting customer expectations, both stated and unstated. It's a very old definition, as you may call it, but it's something which people understand it in a better way than getting into all new jargons in defining it. At the end of the day, it's delivering to the promise made to the customer. When I say customer, I mean anyone that we come in contact with. Today, all of you are my customers. I need to focus on ensuring that I say something which makes sense for you. You get what you've been expecting from this particular talk. If it is not, that means the quality is not delivered. Therefore, to that extent, I feel anyone that you come in contact with, a customer, could be your driver, could be your product user, could be a service user, what have you, anybody. All stakeholders of the organization are our customers in a way. It can be vendors, it can be product customers, it can be somebody who takes your service, your employees, your shareholders, and everyone in some way or the other customer. They all expect something from you as an organization. That's it. And then another thing that I would like to mention is that my talk will be random. It's not something which is structured in some sequence, but I will share with you some random thoughts. Quality has to be focused in all walks of life. In our family life, in our outside life, and when we meet people, something that we want to ensure that we give the best of ourselves in the domain of our life. But normally we restrict the subject to manufacturing quality or product quality or process quality in the corporate parlance. So to that extent, it is something that we get restricted, but such talks in a half an hour, 1 hour, you can't cover the entire gamut of quality. As Ramanathan said, even SOS Children's Villages of India, we used to focus a lot on how do we ensure that the children whom we develop there and make them useful citizens of the society, what kind of a quality inputs we give them in terms of their value systems and what have you. One is giving them life, giving them food, giving them shelter, giving them education, but how do we make them good citizens of the world? So therefore, quality is there in every process, but today we will kind of focus it with the expertise on corporate level. And but as I mentioned, it is valid for social sector as well. Processes will include all processes, and I mentioned product quality or process quality in the manufacturing organization to produce the products, or the processes in the service industry to deliver the service to a customer. It could be a consulting business, it could be a financial services business, what have you. That's what we call product quality or process quality, but I think both are important to ensure the customer gets what he expects from you. In a simple way, if you look at it, all organizations have 3 Ps. Janak is very familiar. We keep using this very often. Purpose, process, people. Every organization has a purpose, whether it's a social organization or corporate organization. In order to deliver that purpose or achieve that purpose, there are processes that are involved. Processes is those methodologies by which we ensure that the purpose is served. And who runs these processes? It's people. And people become at the center of anything that we do. And I think every quality lecture that you hear, people will talk about people, whether it's total quality management, they talk about total employee involvement, employee engagement. In very many ways, they talk about it. There are many organizations that keep tracking as to how do we ensure that we involve people. So some of my talks today will also cover on how do we involve people. Now let us focus on product quality to start with. In my opinion, the quality journey starts with the conceptualization of the product, followed by its design. Then comes the manufacturing process. In design, we talk about design for manufacturability, design for serviceability, and all kinds of things that we talk about in a holistic manner. The end of the day, then we define the manufacturing process, and then product is produced, delivered, and the customer gets it, and so on. But understanding what is expected out of the product is very, very critical to design. Now, let me share with you some failure story that I have experienced. And normally we learn from failures, and therefore I have no hesitation in accepting that we should discuss what happened in a failure situation and what do we do to learn from that. Most of my talk will cover basically up to the time that I was involved as an executive position till 2006, because afterwards I'm a fossil. 2006, I retired. 17 years, I have not been involved in any operation whatsoever. Therefore, whatever I shared with you will be old school and not new school or new technology. Please bear with me on that. You know, when I joined the company, we were making about 100 tractors. I'm a very small company making a single cylinder 24 horsepower tractor. Over the period design that we need to kind of expand and diversify, we started developing a 35 horsepower tractor. We did. We used to call it 352. And that product was a disaster. Disaster not in terms of totality, it served some of the purposes in certain markets. In the northern market, it went reasonably okay, but in the southern market, it bombed. I mean, it had problems like it used to have leakages, it used to have problem in terms of water ingress into the engine and what have you. Okay. Now, whenever such things happen, there's a blame game starts. The designer said, I had designed the product extremely very well. And then the manufacturing says they're produced up to specification, your tolerances are too tight and you can't, make it. And then the marketing says that it's useless product, useless design. So there's a blame game that kind of went on and on. However, what happened is something different. And I said, I was the manufacturing general manager and there was a head of design and head of marketing. And all of us were reporting to the managing director of the company or president of the company. So what we said that I took the initiative and said, listen, let's not kind of do this blame game. Let's go and see how the product is getting used. So I took the head of marketing, head of design, and went to a farm in South India to look at how the bigger tractors are getting used. It is actually used in puddling operation in rice field. I don't know how many of you know about puddling operation. The puddling operation, what they do, they remove the tires of the tractor. They put cage wheels into the tractor. And the tractor gets submerged into the water. 50% of the tractor is inside the water in a muddy field of a rice field. And the tractor is taken with the cage wheel, not with the tires, one stretch of the land. They apply the brake 90 degrees turn, apply the brake 90 degrees turn, come back. And again, at the end of the stretch, again, apply brake, turn 90 degree, turn 90 degree, come back. So it's a very, very tough operation. You can imagine the tractor submerged in water for half the body is submerged. My head of design was shocked. He said, is this the way this tractor is getting used? Because they did not visualize the tractor. They looked at it from the northern market, the facility when they're using in different fields. That usage condition was satisfied, but the major usage condition in the market in terms of puddling operation, it is not properly designed. Obviously, the result is different. We went back to the drawing board, looked at the details, and ensured that the entire engine positioning, the positioning of the dynamo was alternate. Everything has got changed, and we had to come with a new product. And ultimately, the product did well. So the basic learning in this is that go to the Gemba. Go to the Gemba, learn as to how the product is getting used so that you know what are the expectations of the customer, and then we can design the product which serves the purpose for which it is kind of meant. So in terms of quality, that's what I said. It starts with the design of the product. understand what is expected out of the product, what are the nuances, what are the detailing, and so on. Now, having said that, how do you understand the customer needs? When it's okay, well said, you need to understand the customer needs. Here in Eicher Motors, in the commercial vehicle business, we started with the 6-ton GVW vehicle from Mitsubishi Motors, Canter. Ramanathan is very familiar because Ramanathan used to be in Nippon Denso, but they were not manufacturing what we wanted. They were manufacturing starters and alternators. I used to buy from them. Of course, I used to go there. So Mittal was there in marketing. So we had lovely discussions with him. Though as a classmate, but we discussed as a seller-buyer relationship. What we wanted to do at that time was we ensured that the customer gets a ready to use vehicle, because the commercial vehicle customer earns money every day that he uses the vehicle is important. So we started producing vehicles which with loaded body, with application vehicles like sorting carriers, so that when the vehicle gets out of the factory, the person can start using it forthwith. While doing that, we developed up to 11 tons, 12 tons vehicles we developed from starting from 6-ton vehicle. But then we were not yet serving the other major part of the market, which was 16-ton gross vehicle weight and above, where there was a duopoly. The Tatas and Leyland were the only two companies manufacturing. And we had a commitment that whatever product we produce will be more fuel efficient. So it's okay, fair enough. So how do we develop a 16-ton vehicle? For the first time in the automobile industry in India, we deployed quality function deployment, as QFD, as most of you know, in designing the product, the heavy commercial vehicle 16-ton GVW. None of us knew anything about the subject. We all attended a few courses, a few lectures, and then we looked at a lot of books and read. And we formed a team, a cross-functional team, with the head of product development as the leader of the team. And I, as the MD of the company, was a facilitator. I mean, it doesn't matter, designations don't matter, but you do a job which is required. I couldn't have been the head of the team because I don't have any understanding of product design. So I made the head of product development as the head of the team, and I was working with him as a team member, as a facilitator. Believe me, we went through it. It's a long drawn process. Every one of the team members went and visited the customers. We went to a lot of dhabas where the vehicles are parked. We used to go to places where the vehicles are parked, talk to the driver, understand as to what are the things that they like about the competition vehicles like Tatas and Leyland, what are the things they don't like, and what kind of improvement they would like to have. We spent a lot of time in collecting actual data in the field, including what kind of overloading that takes place, what kind of a normal expectation the customer has, what are the priorities of the customer? Is it pickup, or is it safety, or everything that we needed to? I will give you just 2 examples of what we did. I mean, very interesting that, in the commercial vehicles, if you look at the way the drivers get onto the vehicle, they just put 1 foot onto the tire and then jump into the so-called cabin, which is market built, rugged cabin, but is all juat. We said that's not on. I mean, it's number one, not safe. The guy has to get down at a point where at the border, he has got to jump out of the truck and could get fractured. So we said we need to have proper steps. So we ensured that in our QFT, we ensured what kind of height of the step. We looked at the Sardajis in the north, we looked at the drivers in the south, and ultimately decided the right kind of steps so that people can conveniently enter. The second thing, I'll just give you one or two examples, otherwise we can give a big lecture on this. For example, the front vision, when the driver sits in the cabin, the kind of a height he's there in a 16-ton truck is actually a fairly good height. What is his visibility in the front? Side visibility. So we tried to ensure that our windshield glass is designed in such a manner his visibility is maximum. We did spend a lot of time in understanding what kind of requirement is there. Like that, we went through to understand the customer requirements from the Gemba, talk to the drivers, the users of the vehicle. Ultimately, we kind of came with an excellent design which is taking care of all aspects of safety, convenience, serviceability. We looked at everything in that and gave priority. Depending, because we discussed the customer, we knew the priority. So we ensured that also. Normally in QFT, you look at the compromises and all that stuff. We did that. I don't want to get into those details, but then we came with a very good design for the product. And of course, we came with the least cost-effective investment strategy. In those days when everybody else spent 800, 900 crores, we came with a project report for 120 crores design and including manufacturing. So which is one thing which is a very unique thing which we did, because we focused on, we couldn't afford anything more. I mean, so we had to be frugal, but yet we did all that. Now, having done that, we didn't know what we have done is correct or not. So we called a expert on QFD. Many of you may be aware of him. One Nirdosh Reddy used to be in the US. I think he worked with some of the big American companies. He came and he looked at our output, whatever we have come with the document and the design. He complimented, said it's fantastic. I mean, to see that an Indian company has evolved and developed a design of using this technique is fantastic. He said, but there's one thing which is wrong. You have taken too much of time. We have taken about 6-7 months of time to develop the house of quality. It should have been done much faster. The lesson learned is we worked as a part-time team. My head of product development is one of the leaders, and I was a facilitator, the MD of the company. Quite a few quality, production, everybody was there. We all worked part-time. He said you should have had a full-time team to ensure that the speed of developing the design is much faster. That's a lesson learned for future. It's a very good lesson learned, because I didn't realize that such a thing, because we didn't have time to invest in a larger full-time team, and therefore we went ahead with the part-time team. But that we should have, it's a good lesson learned that in hindsight, had we done our own kind of faster development, put a full-time team on the job, maybe we would have done faster and done a better job. But otherwise, the product was good. When it came to the market, it was good. We did a lot of exercise, including mock things and so on. The project had to be cleared. That's a separate story. How did we go ahead and get the project cleared? Because the company was betting twice its capital on this project. We were a 60 crore company. The investment 120 crores. Twice the gross block was being, you can imagine the risk that we were taking in this project. But anyway, balance is history that we have succeeded. And Volvo saw the kind of capability we have in product development. They came and invested a huge amount of money. Anyway, that's history. Now let me look at a focus on quality during indigenization. Many of you may, how much time do we have? We have another 10, 15 minutes. Is that okay? Am I going all right in terms of speed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Plenty of time. You take another half.
I've got a couple of more examples. Then we go. See, we were one of the first companies to indigenize 100%, though we started 1 year later than DCM and Mazda. Now, Ramanathan is aware of the 4 companies that were there with Japanese collaboration, because his company, Nippon Denso, was also Japanese collaborative company, but for components. Mazda, Toyota, Alvin, and Eicher, and Mazda and Toyota started 1 year ahead of us. However, we were the first one to implement 100% localization, because otherwise we couldn't have survived, because the yen fluctuation was so huge. In that process, one example I'll share with you is on the development of fuel injection pump. As I shared earlier, we had committed ourselves that our vehicle will be better than competition in terms of fuel efficiency. Our commitment is 7-15%. We should be more fuel efficient, because the Canter vehicle, which we got from Mitsubishi, it was the latest model from them. That's why we waited for 1 year to introduce, and that was definitely more fuel efficient than anybody else in the country. Given that, there are many factors of fuel efficiency, ergonomy of the vehicle, and aerodynamics, and engine plays a very important part. That is, fuel injection pump is very, very critical. The Japanese vehicle had Nippon Denso fuel injection pump, and which, of course, as you know, Japanese quality, they were fantastic in terms of performance. And to indigenize, we had only one source, that is Myco Bosch. I don't think anybody else was there at that time. Others were all coming in. I think Lucas TVS and others came in much later. And we went to Myco and started developing the product. We had a tough time. The product that they brought out with was not meeting our standards. We went through it. I think it took about 2.5 years or more to develop that product. But we stuck to our guns. Listen, we want quality same as Nippon Denso, period. Believe me, there was a lot of pressure from Myco saying that, DCM has done 200 hours of testing in the lab. They have accepted. Mazda has accepted. What's your problem? Why can't you just, based on the engine test result, take it? Sorry, we will not do that. You believe me, we went ahead and tested the product they gave on the field. We went to the vehicle trials, and my quality team went on looking at every aspect of the driver comfort, the driving, what happens when they brake, what happens when they start, what kind of a pickup. Every aspect of that was in detail tested. We said, no, we want to get it absolutely perfect, matching with Nippon Denso. May not be 100%, maybe 99%. We succeeded ultimately. We got a product which is absolutely matching in terms of performance, and we had no regrets at all on that. So Myco went through all this perseverance. Ultimately, the senior management of Myco had a meeting with me and said, thank you, Mr. Sandilya, that you insisted on this. I know it was a lot of perseverance on your part and patience. We took more time to develop. We know we have also invested a lot of money, but we learned a lot in the process. I think that was something which I believe was a real credit to our company and my team of quality control and production people, design people. They persevered, they insisted we cannot compromise on quality. So that's a kind of learning, that no compromise. If you have what you intend to deliver, you deliver that. And that you need to find out and persevere and make it happen. There's no question of any compromise on that aspect. Now let me then turn to service quality. And I think once having produced the product, when it goes to the field, it needs to work. In the case of commercial vehicle, one of the very crucial aspects is uptime. So we took a lot of steps to ensure that the vehicle availability for use is high from day one. So what are the challenges? A Japanese company, as we were giving ready to use vehicles, whereas the others were having bodybuilding time, the guy has to go and get body built. It takes about 3 weeks to 4 weeks to get it. But we said we must have vehicle which is usable from day one. So that's first thing that we did. Having done that, it was also a challenge that when the person goes for servicing, as you know, in the market, the vehicles of Tatas and Leyland can be serviced anywhere because people were familiar with it. The products have been there for decades and people have been trained. They could do with it. And they can also take compromises because the vehicles were not necessarily as sophisticated as the Japanese vehicles. The Japanese vehicles, of course, had sophisticated design and mechanics were hesitant to touch them. And the customers were also wary. How do I go every time to the dealer? It's going to be a lot of waste of time. So how do you maintain the uptime? So what we did, something unique, is we trained something like 1,000 people, roadside mechanics all over the country and all routes where our vehicles were applying to ensure that the vehicles are repairable for first aid at roadside point. And we put boards everywhere, authorized Eicher mechanic, so that the guy got a certification based on the training that we gave. And we were also confident that that guy can take care of all the first aid requirements of the vehicle. That means we could make the uptime much better. I mean, there are so many examples I can share with you how engines get replaced on the way and how do they ensure that, just like the race cars, they do pit stop and they kind of do things very fast. We kind of ensured, and there are dealers who have done cabin replacement overnight for the vehicle and sent it back to the customer so that customer does not lose time, because a commercial vehicle customer, for him, every day is money. He has to use it. He can't afford to keep the vehicle idle. So these are some of the steps that we took. Another concept that we had in the company, which is a major philosophy, you can call it, that whenever in those days imported parts, there used to be shortages. So if there's a shortage, there's a field vehicle which has got under repair and there's a component required, the component is not available at the dealership, and we have shortage in the line as well. So the rule is very clear. Please take it from the line and send it to the customer. So vehicle off the road used to be focused very high because we believed in the philosophy that we have no right to manufacture a new product when my customer to whom I have sold the vehicle is lying idle somewhere in the country. So therefore, the dictum to the company and dictum to the shop floor is, if there is a vehicle off the road, we got a message. I used to monitor that personally, that please pick up the part from the line and send it to the customer. Customer gets it first, and then we can produce a new vehicle. Otherwise, we have no right to produce. These are the kind of philosophy that we ensured to have the uptime of the vehicle is kind of. Now, last thing that I'll share with you is another unique experience, that in all this that we talk about people, I haven't touched upon the people part of it so far. So how do you engage employees and have higher employee involvement? Here again, I will share with you a very innovative process that we did. We had cross-functional team, task force, Kaizen, etc. And we used to give a lot of importance to Kaizen. In fact, I used to keep sharing with my team a kind of a concept, a Kaizen, a person a week. A Kaizen, a person a week, that every employee should at least think one Kaizen a week. It doesn't happen. It is a dream, actually. That dream never came true. But the focus is clear that please focus on improvement, whether it is shop floor or office or staff, wherever, please focus on continuous improvement. And that did help. We used to have Kaizen awards every month and used to have a meeting. I used to personally give out the awards for best Kaizen and so on. It's something now almost all the companies do. Today, it's a normal process in many companies. But what I'm going to share with you is something very unique in terms of process. I don't know how many of you have heard real-time strategic change, or RTSC. It's also known as large-scale interactive process, LSIP. We were the pioneers in Eicher Motors to use that technology in India, which is involving the entire employees of the company, starting from the MD to the worker, in a process of evolving strategy for the company. It sounds very odd to you, right? How can you involve everybody? How can you involve even workers and so on? The kind of knowledge that those people have on the operating level is extremely high, and we underestimate them. I think Japanese companies talk about Gemba, go to the workplace, see what he does. Don't think that you know everything. The worker knows what he's doing. Given that this is a unique process, technology developed by a lady called Kathy Dannemiller in the US. And she came to India free of cost and helped us implement that. And we were the first one to do that. Now, many companies do it, but in a very different way. Here is a process where we say when we deploy all the employees of the company, we had about 900 employees at that time. In Indore, we didn't have a place where you can accommodate 900 people. I mean, you can't stop the line for 3 days of the event. So what we did, we divided the whole group into 3 groups of 300 each. And we had a 3-day event in the first time, and second and third time we had 2-day event. We did it at a peak time during November, December to March, when the year-end pressures are also there. We didn't mind that. We did that. That is a process where we have all stakeholders coming and talking to people directly. Over a period of 2.5 days, we had different groups. We used to sit in round tables where the senior management team, the staff, supervisors, workers, there will be a table in which there are 10 people sitting in the max mix team. And you will have each table will have people from staff, some workers, some senior management team, and so on. So it's a max mix team that's a microcosm of the entire organization. Like that, there'll be 30 tables housing 300 people, and over a period of 3 days, we did 900. Ford Motor Company in the US had done it for 3,000 people in 3 different halls. They had it, and that is an experience where when Kathy Dannemiller said she has used it, technology, we said, why can't we try in India? I took the risk of doing it at the cost of my own senior management team and others saying, what do you know whether it will deliver or not? I said, you have to take risks in life. This process seems to be very good. If it has worked in the US, why not in India? I took the plunge, spent a lot of money when the company was incurring losses, mind you, and the production was having heavy fluctuation. But the result was that when we had each session, 3 vendors would come and talk about what kind of problem they have with the company. We would tell them 10 minutes each, not more than that. Please share with us what is the expectation that you have from the company. Then 3 customers are called, and the 3 customers in another session will share what they expect from the company. We will have 3 investors coming and talking to us as what they expect from the company. We had employee union people coming and telling us what do they expect from the company in terms of things. That means every stakeholder was invited. Dealers who are also there, financiers, they used to be invited and coming and talking to us as to what is the expected of the company. That means we covered all the stakeholders whom we deal with in our daily life in the company, and each one of them in each session they gave. After they speak, the people cannot question or do any kind of demeaning thing with them, only ask clarificatory questions. We listen and absorb what our customers and stakeholders have to say. After that, each table will work out in detail, discuss the issue, and come out with what needs to be done. At the end of the 3 days, we come with a strategy which is unique in terms of accepting the voices of the customers, voices of the stakeholder, arrive at that which is highly prioritized in terms of what we should do. Our strategic initiatives were evolved out of that in the first 3 days, and then we used the same initiatives in the second and the third workshop, and we got a complete totally aligned. The whole purpose of this process is get the entire team aligned to a common cause and a common objective. And once you do that, it's a critical mass theory. When the small critical mass is able to align itself to a particular concept or idea, and when the critical mass moves, it moves with a great velocity. And we're able to, there's the whole concept of DVA, they call it, you have a dissatisfaction, vision, and then first steps, you take that, if that is higher than resistance, you're able to kind of have a much better thing. So we used the DVF model and involved this particular process. And I think it was one of the fantastic processes that I was so personally involved, very passionately involved in that I can give a half-a-day talk or 3-hour talk on this and still won't be enough. Okay, it was one of the fantastic experiences. And when the entire organization yelled in terms of they accept the ultimate conclusion, the lady Kathy Dannemiller came and hugged me on the stage and said, Sandilya, we have done it. So that's a kind of power that it had, the process. And the next couple of years, I think the effect of that lasted when everybody focused on what he should do to help the process improve. How does he work as a team, whether it is accounts to finance, vendors to dealer to customer. The entire team started working with customer as a final orientation, or the stakeholder as the first orientation, help each other to succeed. That's how we went on the quality journey. So now to just conclude, quality is a journey and not an end in itself. And I think that's very, very important. And that's where continuous improvement is required, as the customer expectations are also ever changing. We all know in the current velocity, the change, of course, is only constant. There are customers' expectations keep changing. And especially with the technology improving, we need to also understand how our employees can embrace the changes and use technology to ensure we deliver quality in all that we do. In summary, I would like to conclude saying, in the process, in the journey to improve quality, start with unlearn, learn, relearn, and yearn for quality in all walks of life, and earn the respect of all stakeholders and customers. Thank you. Now over to questions, and I would have preferred only question answer, not give a talk, but I have managed to give a talk for whatever it's worth.
Thank you, Sandilya sir. There are a couple of questions already mentioned here. One, Mr. KVSS Iyer was asking, assessment of actual properties, dimensions, etc. is the challenge for assessment. If quality, how do you use the information expanded? If Mr. Iyer is able to unmute, he can directly ask the question. Mr. Iyer.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you very much. A very wonderful presentation on the current status of quality measurement, assessment, and customer satisfaction. Yeah, I am asking a very basic and fundamental. Quality is defined with respect to the specification or requirements that is fixed because customer decides. Now, what is the challenge for an inspector or task performer in the machine shop is assessment of actual properties like dimensions, measurements, resistance, capacitance, or the like, which decides how far the actual is from the agreed, contractually agreed specification and standards. Now, calibration certificates mention an information like expanded uncertainty and 95.45% in each every calibration certificate issued for each test equipment and instruments. How do you use this information for the assessment of actual quality in the components and system? That's why I'm trying to know from you.
Honestly, I won't be able to answer this question because I'm not a technically competent person to answer. But however,
Sir,
what a little
sir,
I know is that sorry.
Whatever your present is more technical than commercial talk. More technical, you covered a lot of things. Really, hats off your presentation, sir, with you. Due regards.
Thank you, Mr. Iyer. Thank you. But just to put things in perspective, so whenever we have measurements, whether it is statistical measurements or quality, CPK, whatever, there are tools and tools and tools available. Okay. However, the important thing is how do you interpret them? Just the numbers coming is of no consequence. You should be able to identify the root cause. Okay. And look at it from a common sense perspective. And I'll give you a classic example. I mean, you look at the out of box. We had a problem in our Alvar engine in 1980s, 85. They were having some manufacturing. I shared with you some very unique experience I had. We used to have, the cylinder being kind of bored and honed. Okay. So and that process was there, and my quality control, my production managers came and told me that, sir, we are not getting the right kind of bell curve or whatever top curve, all the measurements are going haywire. I went and just stood at the Gemba and observed the process. And I asked the engineer a question. Listen, I have a common sense question. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I don't know what you're doing. You are measuring this. You are having this particular problem. Your bottom is not coming all right. There's a whole thing. Okay. Have you ever tried to look at why can't you put the component upside down and do it? Will it help? Sir, it's a fantastic idea. Let us try. They tried it. Right. So question is, any amount of measurement that you do is of no consequence unless you're able to apply your mind and see the Gemba. What is the problem? Why is the measurement not okay? Or why is it not feeling? What are the root cause? I think there are n number of quality tools available to analyze, whether it is 7 QC tools, 7 new QC tools. Maybe tomorrow they'll have some 7 new QC tools, whatever you have. At the end of the day, you have to interpret them. I mean, it's not the number doesn't matter. The number is only giving you some indication. It's only follow the trend, monitor the trend, what happened, how is it moving, is it improving, not improving, what are the variations? You look at all that and say, hey, why is it happening? What is the root cause? Then you come. I'll give you one example, which is again talking about, forget about measurement. I'll give you a classic example, which is inequality. You know, in our vehicle, in the Mitsubishi truck that we had, chassis was cracking. Can you imagine a commercial vehicle manufacturer, a truck chassis cracking is critical? My business will go down the docks, okay? So we had to solve that problem. I talked to the collaborators and they said they were very worried. They didn't want to accept. They said it's your Indian utilization problem and nothing to do with the product. So we asked them to strengthen the chassis and all that. At the end of the day, I'll tell you a simple example where things went wrong. We found that the shock absorber was acting as a rod, and therefore there was extra pressure coming on the chassis, and that was cracking. Then, hey, what the hell? What's happening? We found that one shock absorber manufactured at Value Engineering, there was a washer in the shock absorber. There was a hole. He plugged that hole thinking it's irrelevant. That created internal pressure. The shock absorber became a rod and it was hitting the truck and the chassis will break. Okay, now the problem is something else, but the solution lies elsewhere. And ultimately, we got that chap to do the thing and we improved in this brand's history. But then you have to look at the root cause. Don't look at it from just the numbers. Interpret it, look at the root cause, analyze it in detail. I can stop here because I can't give you a technical answer for this. I hope I have answered your question differently, Mr. Iyer.
Yes, yes, Mr. Sandilya. There are a couple of ex-Boschlers and Boschlers are here, so they would like to meet their esteemed customer and interact with you. May I request Mr. Satish, you can share your association with Aisha when you were in developing pumps from Myco. Mr. Satish?
Yeah, I think everybody will not be able to mute unless I see them. So I'm not able to see Satish. Yeah. So you can ask the question. In the meantime, I'll try to.
Oh, okay, okay. He has given his compliments when he was associated with Aisha, when he was working with Myco Bosch. Maybe when you are giving this option, maybe he can also interact with Mr. Sandilya. And in between, there is a question from Mr. Hemant. How do you see EV market will evolve in India in future with regards to CVs, commercial vehicles?
Well, it will evolve because all over the world, people are looking at electric vehicles, and we are also making electric vehicle buses, and electric two-wheelers are coming in lakhs and millions in this country. But in today's context, I think the market is still not evolved in a manner it should, because the costs are still higher. The cost of battery is high, it's going. It will go down. I think when the volumes go up and new technology will come in, things will improve. And the commercial vehicle in any case is going to be one of the major areas of focus, and it will evolve. I mean, at the moment we have started giving electric buses. There is already working in the field. In fact, even Aisha has got recently a good order for about 1,000 vehicles from one of the governments. So that's something which will evolve and EVs will come up. But that, I think, nothing to do with the topic of quality, but I think electric vehicles also to manufacture the right quality, they should work and deliver the requirements of the customer, which I presume that they would do. Yeah. Any kind of fuel, I mean, whatever you use, multi-fuel, you use fuel cells, or tomorrow CNG and everything else. But now I think the concept is that we cannot depend on diesel alone, because I think fossil fuels are going to end in a few years' time. It's not immediate. It'll take a few years before the ICE technology becomes disruptive or invalid. Yeah, it'll take time. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. That's a reality.
Yeah, yeah. There is a question from ISQ Bangalore chapter's president, Mr. Chandramouli. Did Q improvements also help you to improve indirect productivity?
Which one? Get the question again.
Quality improvements also help you to improve indirect productivity, maybe indirect functions productivity, Mr. Chandramouli?
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Yep. You know, for example, the employee involvement that we did, believe me, if we talk about indirect process, I'll give you a classic example. Earlier, the payment to the employees for their travel expense report used to take more time. Our accounts department started behaving, oh, you are my customer, I need to deliver. Within the same day, they were clearing their vouchers. Bills of vendors were getting cleared in time. So question is that if they understand that my customer or my stakeholder, the person with whom I'm interacting, having expectations, can I take that one extra step to ensure that I satisfy him? So the total time involved in many of these processes came down, which means improvement of productivity. So all indirect processes, direct processes, nothing, even stop saying a store to manufacturing line. Earlier, if it was taking some extra time for the guy to deliver the product in time, they ensure that now, of course, these days all robotics and we have everything line and Kanban system and immediate delivery and all that. But in those days, we did not have, it's just about starting the Kanban system. I'm talking about late 80s. At that time, a lot of dependence on the store chap to come and deliver the product. So they started helping out and saying, listen, we will work, run and ensure that a line does not stop. So indirect productivity always goes up if you have overall process quality. But I'm saying as quality is all pervasive, not just. And again, as very important, how do we as leaders also follow this? How do we encourage them? How do we look at them and not kind of question them when somebody wants to do the right things the right way? I think that's important. I mean, sometimes the leaders get impatient and start pushing. Oh, no, why don't you jump the gun? Why don't you do shortcut in testing and introduce the product? Dekha jayega baad mein. The dekha jayega will not work. And I've had enough examples of failures when you don't do the product testing properly and launch it in the market. No question about it. No question about it.
There is one extended question from Mr. Chandramouli that how did you focus on cost of poor quality as a leader?
Listen, I think when you say quality is poor, cost, there is a variety of aspects, right? Not only the product that you got to replace the product, there's also a question of, these days a recall coming in, so thousands and thousands of vehicles getting recalled with expenditure. So I think the actual cost of quality is virtually nil. If you focus on the process, you have to ensure that you don't produce defect. But can you have zero defect? Impossible. Any product that you manufacture, some amount of human life, there will be potentially, whether it's software, you can take, Infosys has a problem, TCS has a problem in the IT software, income tax and, Ministry of Corporate Affairs and so on. Anything that you develop, if there is any shortcut anywhere during the process, it will result in failure. However, the cost is very, very high if you let the thing pass. Therefore, produce quality, focus on the design from day one, ensure that whatever is required is tested, proven, checked through thoroughly before you launch the product into the market. And then if there is any failure, despite all that you have done, there is a failure or something not working, take care. That means overall cost of quality or cost of poor quality will reduce. It cannot be totally eliminated. Yeah. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
To be practical, I mean, I think theory is fine. Zero defect is theory, but then I'm best the product. Even Toyota, for that matter, has had problem in their product, right? If you remember a few years ago, a decade and a half ago, they had major problem in the US in product failure. People talk about the Takatas of the world and so on. I mean, best of companies, even Japanese companies, have had problem. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. We know about the intentional problem anyway, so where they got into major issues on quality. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And our Pune chapter vice president Devraj wants to become a CXO. So he wants your tips for becoming a director, chairperson of a company.
My God, I can't give any tips for that. So I think, that's a very, Ramanathan may be able to help you as a coach, guide, counselor, what have you.
Maybe
I'm sorry, I'm not in that market.
I can reframe the question maybe for better understanding. So there are various rising quality professionals, but we don't see much of them into the CXOs or the the board or the chairman, directors, post, right? So you are one of the
that's a question.
examples.
Okay.
You are one of the examples that a quality person.
You are saying as a quality person, how do I become?
Yes.
I'll give you one classic example.
Yeah, what are your
I'll give you one classic example. I mean, I don't want to discuss theory. I want to give you examples.
Yeah.
There was a person in charge of quality in my Alvar engine plant. Okay. And I wanted him to take over production. I said, so and so, I want to transfer you to production. He said, no, I don't want to go. Why? No, I want to be an expert quality person. I want to be known as the number one in quality. I said, that's all right. What his unstated thing was that he thought if he gets transferred to a new job like production, his promotion may be affected. He was, I think, deputy manager, you want to become manager or senior manager, what have you. He thought his promotion may be affected. That's his unstated thing. I could sense this thing. I told him, listen, so and so, this is going to give you a fantastic opportunity to learn new things in terms of worker management, industry relations, and what have you. If you fail, you can always come back to quality. If you succeed, you have added one more skill to your job. Okay. So with a lot of difficulty, I convinced him. Then I told him, your promotion to the next level will happen or will not happen either way if you are not necessarily able to show potential to do other things. If you take on the role and learn to manage production, that means you have added one more feather to your cap. That means your learning ability is proven. Okay. And your attitude is proven that you're positive to take risks and do one. The guy got transferred. He worked in the production, managed the workers. Believe me, he became MD of, then left the company and joined. And he was in Pune. He was MD of a tractor manufacturing company in Pune for many years before he retired. How did he become MD? Because he was open to take a challenge and learn new things when the opportunity was given. So people like you in quality, if you want to explore, you must look at opportunity to do other things. Okay. I'm same thing. I'm a finance person. I'm not an engineer. How did I manage an engineering company? I have no knowledge of engineering. I'm not qualified engineer. But then you go learn from the shop floor, learn things. And so luckily my company gave me opportunity to run operations one fine morning and I jumped into the thing. So number one, your ability to take the risk and do things which are other than what your familiar domain. And explore opportunity. In your own company, you should ask people, listen, can you, Ramanathan is a classic example. Ramanathan was in charge of operations. He was independent, so came over to SRF. He became a quality chief. Today he's a quality guru. And he is in fact number one in the world. There will be very, very few people that he can, talk about a person like Ramanathan, the quality. You have to explore. You have to take challenges. Am I right, Ramanathan? He was the president of independence, so,
Mute, sir. You're on mute.
Ramanathan, sir, your mic is on mute.
You have to unmute. Thank you, sir.
But I hope I've answered your question, Devraj.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I was saying to you, Sandilya, you are a dangerous friend. I don't want to comment. Thank you very much anyway for that comment. I appreciate it.
But listen, I mean, I know you, madam, it the way you have come up and what have you done. And so it's
thank you, Mr. Sandilya, because you have given a right kick to the people who stuck with one department or one function, or most probably Chandramouli and myself stuck in quality for some decades. So your kick is going to work.
I'm not stuck. I'm enjoying my work.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now there is a next question. As a leader, how do you develop culture for taking care of internal customer culture?
good question.
Culture. Yeah.
See, which I think it's by demonstration. See, these things cannot be taught. Okay. So if when we look at and we keep on telling my team members, listen, why don't you look at and say how you can make your other team members succeed? Okay. Don't look at your own success. Don't become selfish. If each one in the company looks at how to make the other person succeed, all of us succeed in the process. That has to come from demonstration. I, as the CEO of the company, I should look at how am I helping all my colleagues to succeed. Okay. Single individual cannot do anything. I mean, it's a myth that the CEO of the company is doing everything in the company. No. I mean, as a MD, chairman of the company, I can do nothing if my team is not working as a group. How do you ensure that they work? Ensure that and dissenting voices are respected. Respect them. Have certain amount of humility. Accept if somebody has got a better idea. Accept it. You don't know everything. You're not a all-pervasive, all omniscient, omnipresent kind of person. So I think you need to have that basic ability. And once you demonstrate, others also follow. I mean, that's all I can say, because it's a question like some will say, you go to the shop floor, you see things which are not okay. Stop and see what you can do to change it. You talk about culture. Safety is the one important aspect. I used to go to the shop floor in my cab building department. People will not wear helmet. I'll just go stand there, observe. I call him. I only tell him your safety is my concern. I don't tell him why the hell are you not wearing helmet? Why is it? I don't agree with him. I don't shout at him. Just asking people question. Hey, listen, your safety is my concern. Why are you not wearing helmet? Then I tell him, listen, this is what it is. So, you start, and when you go into the same shop floor, are you wearing helmet? If you're not demonstrating. So culture of the organization is built. It is actually beliefs in action. It is not just a belief. You're not saying culture will not happen. It'll become only a vulture if you don't implement it. So culture becomes vulture if you don't really develop it and implement it and demonstrate it. And I think that's very important. And it does depend on the entire organization, but notwithstanding that, there will be problem. All employees will not operate the same way. All of them will not behave the same way. 5 fingers are not same. You have to accept them as they are, but yet focus them to see what best can be done in the environment to ensure that we have the right culture. But you will have problem. The best of companies will have frauds happening. Somebody will cheat, somebody will make money, somebody will do one thing. The integrity is an issue. You have to, then again, integrity as an issue you have to demonstrate. If you expect your people to be having high integrity, you have to also have high integrity. If not, bad luck. So I think that's very important. Yeah. I hope I've answered your questions.
Yes. There is one question. It's a big question. Mr. Kalpanath, if you are available, you can unmute and ask the question.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to Mr. Sandilya directly. Thank you very much, sir. So the question is, sir, so automation is coming in a big way in industry today, and we are expecting to see complete automation in the inspection processes in the industries, and maybe over a period of time we'll be able to see automation in all the processes in an organization. So the products and processes would be digitally inspected, checked, and processed, in fact. And we would be able to achieve a state of minimal variation, maybe in near future by next 5 or 6 years. Industries are expected to use artificial intelligence, automation applications like augmented reality. Industry 4.0 would be a practice in the processes. Now, looking at the future, how do you think we should prepare ourselves for the upcoming challenges and changes? Thank you, sir.
Of course, as I mentioned towards the end of my talk, that you have to adapt to changes that are taking place. Sometimes you have to do the initiative to create the changes. Okay, changes are inevitable. All said and done, any amount of automation you do, any amount of robotics that you bring in, human element cannot be eliminated. Understand who will run those processes, who will design the what the robot will do, whether it is functioning all right or not, who will check it. At the end of the day, you cannot have elimination of human beings to do any work. People are important, whichever be, and that's my visualization over the next few decades. I mean, you cannot eliminate. That's why the nature of work will change. Your skills will change. So you've got to be constantly upgrading yourself to the new skills, keep learning new skills. That's why I said unlearn, learn, relearn, and yawn for quality. So you have to unlearn the past, learn the new things, and also relearn whatever needs to be relearned. And that's a continuous process. You have to adapt yourself to technology. But at the same time, be prepared for disruption as well in life. Ensure that you are prepared even for facing disruption. You can't get totally sidelined at a given point of time. Be aware of it. People like me don't have to do that because I'm not looking for employment tomorrow. But it's important for all of you in the profession to keep yourself up to date on various developments. Ensure that we're able to kind of use technology effectively. I mean, don't use technology for the sake of technology. I always say that anything that you look at information technology, digitization, that has got to have a purpose behind it. Not digitization for the sake of digitization. Am I serving the customer with this process? Am I adding value to my customer, stakeholder? Is it serving better? Am I going to produce better quality product in the end of the day? Is it going to be cost effective? If not, there's no point in automating it. See, you do robotic surgery. Can you think the robots can do surgery? You can eliminate the doctor? Of course, I mean, you cannot. You need to have a doctor to diagnose properly. Any amount of automation, any amount of artificial intelligence, it all depends on certain data that you're fed into it. If the data is wrong, you'll get wrong results also. So one has to be very careful in even interpreting the results out of using an automatic AI or machine learning process. It's not something which you can just press the button and forget about it. Then you will find somebody is hacking. You have an automated car going around and somebody will hack and take you to Pennsylvania, whereas you wanted to go to New York. You know, something will happen like that. And you will not even know that you are being driven wrongly because somebody has hacked into your car and driving you through a totally different place. So robotics, automation, everything is there to the extent, but at the same time, you should know where you're going. Am I right, Ramanathan? He's laughing. You're
excellent,
muted.
excellent reply, Mr. Sandilya.
Ramanathan, you're muted.
There is this huge human side to digital transformation, which people forget. And if you forget that, it'll come back to haunt you. And that's the point that Sandilya is making.
Absolutely.
So we have to have the human side right in the forefront whenever we are talking about digital transformation. Thank you, Sandilya, for that comment.
Absolutely, yeah.
You made it much better than I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There is an interesting question. Maybe it is a very vital question from Mr. Prashant. When these automobile companies are transforming from ICE to EVs, there are going to be a reduction of people. When the people working on technology and the competence of people, how this will impact the culture of the company when the reduction is taking place, that the people who are working is taken by the technology.
See, it's a myth that people will get jobless. As I mentioned earlier, the skill level changes. Okay. Yes, you may not need as many people as you had. You may be lesser people, but when the business grows, you will absorb them. I mean, it's not something which you have to kind of terminate people. I mean, it's not something that you have to look at from a negative point of view. The positive side of thing is that every change that you make, the skill level changes. You have more of EV and less EV. Okay, your what you have in your manufacturing process might change. The kind of skill that you require, your lines may change. Your investment focus will change. But at the end of the day, you need to have a certain number of people to run those processes. It cannot be eliminated. Yes, there could be some reduction, some growth. But at the end of the day, if you are a humane organization, if you have intention that your people must be done, we have also done all these things in our company, you will always find employment for them elsewhere. You need to have a lot of vendors going to supply parts to you. In case there's a big growth of your business, the vendors also have to improve their production. Okay, all of them cannot be automated, so they will need people. So your people can be trained and sent to the vendors. Because dealers would need, because the marketplace, you need to have people who can interact with the customer. You go to an Apple store, you will have hundreds of people coming and talking to you as a salesperson. So those people need to be there. Your product is not going to sell automatically. You may say Amazon, everything else, but then some of the products cannot be sold only on Amazon. You need to have a proper human interface. So I think the human interface as a process cannot be eliminated 100%. No way. Any amount of automation you do, at the end of the day, you will, as Ramanathan said, you need to have the human face. You got to think through carefully as how we'll use it. Jobs will change, skills will change, things will change, the way people operate will change, but that is part of life. That's a change. So you please, what you call, absorb the change, embrace the change. I mean, don't run away from the change. Embrace the change, be a part of the process. Sometimes you may be the one who's changing the whole process, right? What has happened today in technology, whether the Ubers and Olas have come in, I mean, the entire focus is, when Amazons have come in, the entire process of customer buying behavior has changed. So these are, but yet the physical stores are there. People do go to the store, touch and feel, they go and see the product, buy. You see the number of shops that have come up in the last few years is huge, despite all the e-trade, right? In spite of e-commerce. You go to the malls, you find that so many malls have come. You wonder, how do they get business? People do come and touch and feel to buy the products. So everything has a place, a kind of a limit to play. It's not going to be 100%, overnight washing away the entire thing. I mean, that's my perspective. I may be wrong, but that's my perspective.
No, it is perfectly right, because these are all the things which has come from your heart.
Ramanathan, you are muted. Yeah. Unmute yourself.
After all, finally, we are selling products and services to human beings.
That's it.
May I basically ask something more in this question? On this question, I was the person who asked this question. If this is so, that basically, if this is so, then why there is a big difference between a quality or the product like Tesla and other automobile cars? Because when I am in US, I drove Tesla. Tesla has got thousands of features, but people like Ford or General Motors, or who have been making the car for decades, do not have that sort of a feature in the car. And I feel that basically they are not able to do, because they don't have the culture to adopt that sort of a change. That's why I was trying to ask you that question. I hope I'm able to convey exactly.
No, absolutely. And that's precisely what I said. You have to embrace change. You have to ensure that if Tesla has done it, what has that done? That guy is not an automobile manufacturer. He has no knowledge of cars. He is not in the business. So people talk about domain knowledge. Nonsense. There is no need for domain knowledge if you really want to run a business. He understood what the customers want, what kind of expectation they have. They want to have a trouble-free vehicle. They want to run, get into the car and drive and go. Fair enough. So he understood the real need of the customer. There are features, some features, but some features may not be usable. So therefore, there is a focus today in the car that, for example, I mean, at least in Royal Enfield, we kind of, we are very proud about that. We will not give unnecessary features in our vehicle. Give features which the customer wants. Don't give features, you can put bells and whistles in the vehicle, but the customer doesn't use at all, or he doesn't need it. So ensure that you give what the customer wants, but yet give it in a manner that the customer can use it, feel happy about it. For example, connected
But
vehicles
Tesla
today
is following
offer
something what the Kano says. They are exceeding the requirements of the customer. So what they are providing to the customer, probably customer has not imagined.
no, the 1 minute.
I'll put it like this. I'll put it like this because customer never imagined that what Tesla has provided to them. So in fact, they have exceeded the basically requirements of customer. If I'm not wrong, Mr. Ramanathan, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me just correct you 1 minute. I think nothing wrong in exceeding customer expectation if we are creating new experience of the customer. We have done it in our own vehicles. We have given, for example, the customer never had a built-up cabin. We have given them a built-up cabin. They got used to it. We were the first one to introduce air conditioning in cabins. Customer never wanted air conditioning. We said, let's experience it. So sometimes you do give features to make the customer experience something new. If he's happy with it, they'll come. For example, in fleet operation, we're giving a lot of information in the commercial vehicle where the driver can focus on his own productivity. Is he driving in a fuel efficient manner, or can he improve his driving? So we have marks measurement for his driving ability. So you give a feature which the customer, you think the customer will benefit, by all means go and give. So exceed customer expectation. But that doesn't mean that you give bills and results which he doesn't need at all. He won't even use it. So you perceive what benefit he will have and give that and experience the benefit. He sees that and get back feedback from him. Is he really finding it useful? Otherwise, you can just any kind of feature for the heck of it and not necessarily make it useful. So exceeding expectation is not wrong. I don't know about Kano, I don't know about Quality Gurus because I have not read any of those books. But in principle, nothing wrong in exceeding customer expectation. So long you find that there is a use, the customer will feel better. Ramanathan wants to say something.
Yeah, I think, so sorry for being scholarly, but there's a difference between exceeding expectations and exceeding requirements. Exceeding expectations is very good quality. Exceeding requirements, that is giving what is not required, is muda, waste.
Well said.
So that's the fundamental difference. That in the Kano model, there is a provision for it. It's called indifferent quality. Indifferent quality is the customer doesn't care if it is there. So why are you giving it?
Well said. Well said. That's what I meant. The exceed expectations, okay. Make the customer feel better. If you, oh my God, this is available, I can use it. So let him experience it. But something he doesn't need, there's no point. Yeah. Okay.
Sandilya, there is an interesting question. Assistant manager wants to become a good leader. So he wants to listen from the leader. What is your takeaways to be a good leader?
Positive attitude, single word. Positive attitude to learn. Do not think that you're an expert. You are not. Learn from everyone. Learn from your worker to staff, the driver, to everybody. Continuous learning. Not only continuous improvement, continuous learning. And attitude to learn. Attitude to try. Take risks in life. You cannot do anything in life without taking risks. Okay. People talk about risk management as the big thing. All this to be focused from a point of view of you have your own expectations. Plunge into it. Try it out. Succeed well and good. Fail, again try. See, failure is not an end in itself. Right? I've shared with you some failure stories. Why? You learn from those failures. Don't repeat them. That's all. So I think it is a continuous process. Assistant manager become leader, tomorrow become chief executive. Everything can happen provided you have ability to learn. And be open. Don't get close mind that I know it all. This is the way it is to be done. If somebody else tells you a better way, learn. Yeah. What's the problem? What do you lose out of the whole process?
Excellent.
But many of us as human beings have that kind of a, we are stuck to our domain. We think that we know everything. My belief is we don't know everything. What we know is like a small little dust particle at the tail of the hair of the tail of the dog. That's all that we know. What we don't know is a huge world. So be open to learn.
Very good. Excellent, Sandilya sir. I have one personal question. I worked with Royal Enfield Motors. Then I moved to Bosch.
You did? I don't know. When did you work in the Royal Enfield Motors?
Somewhere in 94, 96. When the Aisha took over Royal Enfield Motors. 92 it took over.
94.
Yeah. Then I moved to Bosch, and from both the time I visited many of the, since I worked in Royal Enfield Motors, then I visited as a supplier to many of your plants in Pithampur as well as tractor plants. I could see that kind of a corporate culture way back 30 years. What was the mantra to maintain that corporate culture? What the multinational companies are practicing as an Indian company?
See, as I mentioned, it is the, starting from top to bottom, talk the same language. I mean, things like, honesty and integrity. We don't tolerate any nonsense. If there's a person who's known to have not integrity, the person cannot be in the company, whether he is a worker or a senior manager or a general manager, it doesn't matter. If it's anything which is fraud, so these are all things that examples people see as to what you do in day-to-day operation. Okay. I mean, there was one person who did a doctorate study on work culture. He came to Pithampur. A lady came, she was doing from US. She went through the entire exercise, met all the workers, and came back at the concluding session, told me, Mr. Sandilya, how is it that everyone in the company talks the same language on quality or product? See, that's something which is ingrained because you are practicing it every day. Your walk, people talk, walk the talk, talk the walk, all that is jargons. But at the end of the day, you demonstrate. You go to the shop floor, you see something which is not okay. Do you act on it or you walk past it? Okay. Do you find somebody not wearing safety? You tell them what to do, what not to do. Do you kind of encourage them? I mean, not only in the shop floor. Many of my colleagues used to, in fact, one of my colleagues died in a car accident because the guy was not wearing seatbelt. So I somehow used to go, even in my daily walkthrough in my city, if I find some of my colleagues are driving a car without seatbelt, next morning I'll tell him, Mr. So-and-so, yesterday evening in that particular road corner, safety is my concern. I don't tell him what. I tell him, I saw you, your safety is my concern. He knows that he is not wearing seatbelt and I have noticed it. So I'm not questioning him. I'm not shouting at him. Just give him the message that, listen, it's safety. It's not something that you are doing as something, you feel your sari will get spoiled or your dress will get spoiled. I mean, it's your safety, my dear. No point taking this. So same thing about wearing helmet. Anything that you do in life, there must be a culture comes by practice. Culture comes by demonstration. Culture does not come by telling people and giving them lectures. No. You have to demonstrate. Top to bottom, people have to believe in it. People see, everything cannot be 100%. Let's not make it something so simple that once you do that, everybody will follow. No, there will be what you call the normal disturbances. As you call it in your statistical quality control, there will be variances. Okay, if you observe the variance, how do you bring the variance down? No need to measure it. You can just see it. Variances are seen in a day-to-day life. Share it with people, converse. So over a period of time, people start imbibing it and they see that this is what is expected out of them. Say, don't ensure a wrong quality product does not go to the customer. You find in the line there is a defect in the product. And the guy has not noticed it. Show it to him. Hey, listen, have you noticed this particular thing? No, this label is not properly aligned. There's a small dent out here. Can you see in the A category, the paint is not proper? Have you seen this? Oh, sorry, sir, I have not noticed it. You're going to change it. But if you skip it and say, koi baat nahi, chalo gaadi de do, kya farak tha, choti defect hai, nikal do, then I think you are giving a wrong message to the system. That's where I think the culture comes from the top management. I mean, I have personally done some examples like this where you go demonstrate and people understand. If this is what is expected of me, I will do it. It'll change over a period. And these things take time, years and years and years of practice. But if you compromise, if they know that the leaders are compromising, you will have it. And many companies, same problem. If you find that there are corruption in the system, why is the corruption? They find top to bottom, there is corruption. People is an accepted way of life. Last week, somebody was sharing with me, this is the problem they're facing. I said, but that's a culture. That's a culture. So it comes from the top management down to the lower level. If people see that, people follow. I hope I've answered your question because culture cannot be taught and not in classroom lectures. It is only in the Gemba, in the field, whether it is even dealers. So that means you go to a dealership and talk to them. What kind of thing you talk to the dealer? I go to his dealership showroom and find that the items are not kept properly. I ask him, hey, don't you think you should keep it properly so you can easily access it? Oh, yes, sir. Next time you'll come and say it properly. So just, it's just that you observe and you say it. And they also listen to you because they see the benefit of it. So everything, people have to see the benefit of what you're saying. It's not for the sake of, culture is not for the sake of culture. It is the purpose. They're all of us aligned towards something which we need to do. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Sandilya, I remember that somewhere in 1994, 95 or something, you were the current managing director, Siddharth Lal, was sitting in our materials function and doing the basic purchasing process. It is a real walk the talk.
Yeah, I mean, these are things which are important. As MD of the company, I've sent back many purchase orders which didn't have the proper data. People know that I expect the basic information to be there. So what I'm saying is all this just comes only by your demonstrating. Siddharth was there 94, we acquired the company, 92, we invested in that company, we acquired. At that time, quality was terrible. You know, Royal Enfield, if you had known, the quality was terrible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had major problem in the shop floor, we had major problem with the dealership. But slowly and slowly, we kind of worked on it. And today we've reached a level which is, the customers are happy with it. So, but it takes a lot of time, yeah.
Thank you. Now it's a time for Chandramouli to sum up and give the juice out of this today's session.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. And yesterday when Prabhakar asked me to summarize, I accepted, but now I think I did a mistake. This is the toughest task now. Sir, my confirmation to you out of these events what we had in the quality month, though there were no PowerPoint slides, this was one of the most vibrant and very active and the longest duration of Q&A we had. And people had so much to ask, and my heartiest thanks to you for leading this session in such a way. To summarize, I think I would be doing anyway a bad job if I summarize, because it was bouncing, and we were all ears to that. And it started with anyone who comes in contact with you as a customer. So reinforcing that we should be customer focused, and quality is in all walks of life, and don't relate it to only product quality. Focus on PPP. Understand the customer requirement. We discussed a lot about that, and the service quality and uptime. We still continue to be your valued suppliers as Myco, as Bosch, and now as SEG, and many more suppliers whom Volvo Eicher Group is really taking a lot of confidence in them and nurturing them. And you are famous as mileage ka Badsha in the field. And now you're also famous as uptime ka Badsha. This I can confirm. So these initiatives are really great. And the people involvement, Kaizen, what you spoke about in the real-time LSIT, involving everybody, all stakeholders, and voice of customers, voice of service, really daring initiatives, I would say, which people need to be courageous to take feedback from everyone and work on that. Unlearn, learn, and relearn. We heard that at least thrice. So we need to really focus on that. And the question answer session again was, I would say, a great event where there were questions on the business side, there were questions on Gemba. A lot of repeatedly we heard about common sense and involvement and being adaptive to the changes. And overall, I fully endorse what Mr. Ramanathan said, that this is a very, very practical person. What is also highlighting is your energy, a fantastic energy you had. I think you have throughout. So it was also seen in this session. So thank you very much for all that. And thanks to our ISQ team and our Mr. Ramanathan for requesting you. And thank you for accepting the request. It was a great session for all of us. And Sandilya by meaning, it says, it has two meanings. One is the full moon, and then it is also a sage with full of knowledge. So Sandilya is also a Gotra. So a great personality, and in addition to that, a great amount of simplicity and your willingness to answer any questions. It is a simple, complex, whatever questions you took them with a smile, and you showed us how to be humble despite being at the apex. So there are a lot of things for us to learn apart from the quality topic, what you have taught us. I would like to thank you, first of all, for giving us a fantastic insight today. This whole weekend will be a memorable one for me and also for others who are in this session. And we will definitely take and implement the inputs what you have given. I would like to thank Mr. Janak Mehta and Mr. Ramanathan, first of all, the entire governing council. Mr. Prabhakar, who is the executive director, silently he does the job and he does a lot of coordination. I like it. And all the chapter presidents and Devraj, Srinivasan for helping this session to go on smoothly. And thanks to all the participants. The way we are celebrating Quality Month, I think, is getting more and more meaningful under the guidance of Mr. Ramanathan and Mr. Janak Mehta. So my sincere thanks, and thank you very much, sir, for this session, and thank you all.